We know that Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy is an offensive guy, but for a long time he was looking for an offensive coordinator that could make it all click. He found that a season ago with Dana Holgorsen. Oklahoma State's offense was lights out, among one of the best you would see in the nation. However, Holgorsen now the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers. How much of a concern is it that we heard him talking about his new OC, Todd Monken, saying that he really hasn't called plays since coaching at Eastern Michigan in the 1990s, but at least he's been around guys instead of called plays.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big challenge. I mean, you're going to have the huge advantage of having a 27-year-old at quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the country last year, throwing to one of the best receivers in the country in Justin Blackmon. But play calling is an art form. It takes a lot of attention to detail, being able to adjust on the fly, making in-game adjustments. So I'd expect for there to be a little bit of a growing process, but it'll be aided by having so much talent on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, it will, and also aided by a head coach that intimately knows the offense. He's on the field with you. I don't believe there's any question that those two will work hand in hand. And keep in mind, play calling is also very dependent upon how good your quarterback is. And in Brandon Weeden, who I just saw working out 2 weeks ago out in Southern California, he is big time, folks. Let me tell you right now, and I'm saying first-round draft choice big time. That's how gifted he is. And there's no question the sky's the limit with this young man. And I think that's going to help Todd Monken a ton as a first-year offensive coordinator. And keep in mind, it's not just about dialing up the right play. It's about making sure you've got the right play with the right personnel, with the right formation shifts, and all the things you want to do to create matchups, all while managing the game. And that's what it comes down to as a play caller. You manage the game, put your players in the best position you can to win, and then it's ultimately up to those players to execute.
Is this setting up to be the year for Oklahoma State when you consider what they have, all 5 returning starters along the offensive line? Is this the best shot really realistically they've had to win a Big 12 title?
I really feel like it is. I feel like this is a dark horse national title contender team. The biggest question to me is on their front 7 on the defensive side of the ball. Are they going to be able to get the ball back into the hands of their offense? And if they can do that, this offense is powerful. Even though they are going to have a new play caller, I think they've got enough talent where they can carry this team all the way to the national title game.
They have one player along the defensive front 4 that's over 300 pounds. Everybody else is 279 pounds or lighter. So depending on the schedule, who decides to line up and run the football right at the teeth of this defense could have a huge impact on how often their offense is on the field, because if they can't force 3 and outs and get off the field, it's going to limit their scoring opportunities for the offense. There's no question with Justin Blackmon, Brandon Weeden, as we talked about, that experienced offensive line, it's a lot of firepower. But the defense better come up with some plays, whether it's creating turnovers, and then most importantly, field position in the kicking game. If they can get this defense on a long field, it's going to tremendously help out their opportunities on offense. This is a talented football team, no question. Schedule played into their favor a year ago. It's a little bit more difficult. I really think that this is a good team, but the defensive front's going to have to come up big.
Dan Bailey made some huge kicks for Oklahoma State a season ago, so you're going to miss him, as you mentioned, in the special teams. Danny, what do you think about the schedule for the Pokes this season?
Well, I think it's going to be a challenge for them, but I think obviously a couple big games early. Arizona at home, that's going to test out the new offensive play calling. On the road against Texas A&M, that's going to be a huge game for you to find out what this team is made of. But in the bigger picture, I really feel like this is a team that has changed the culture. This team believes they can win. They won 11 games last year, and I think in their minds, they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder saying they don't get the respect that they deserve nationally, and they're going to go out there and try to make a statement.
Those only losses a season ago, Nebraska, about a 10-point game. They lost to the Oklahoma Sooners. That went down as a 6-point game. The defense, defensive coordinator Bill Young, waiting for that to really break out and get the consistency that he had back in his other Big 12 days with the Kansas Jayhawks. There's talent on the defense. There's names like Ricketty Jones, defensive end. They've been waiting for him to break out. And then a young guy like Sean Lewis. We saw him really show some flashes last season.
And I would expect Sean Lewis to develop into more of a leadership role, too. Now that he's played, now he's the leader of that linebacking crew. Again, it comes down to identifying playmakers around him on the perimeter and gathering experience and depth within the front 4 for Oklahoma State, no question about it.
We'll see if it all comes together for the Cowboys. High expectations, but again, across state, it is Oklahoma, one of the preseason favorites in the conference and the national race as well. What do you make